Hello, Reverend619 here, and I know it's been an absolutely long time in the making, but we're finally getting around to actually covering the Pasqal build. I know I was meant to do it for the Grim Darkness Challenge, but then got distracted with planning routes and doing stuff for that, and then basically with the DLC dropping, I ended up changing a lot of the gearing because a lot of stuff is new, and I know in December coming along, we're going to have all of our gear changed again. But I wanted to get this out before that so that I can do an update video quite quickly once that happens. So, as always, this is for my opinion and my playstyle. If you want to know how to do any of it, check out my live stream, check out my videos, or ask questions to myself. You can join the Discord marked down below, or the Owlcat Discord, and come along and ask questions there. I'm going to start by covering the end game gear that I kind of use. So this is stuff that you're using in Act 4. I'll then cover the early game and the mid game. So the early game is going to be sort of Act 1, mid game is going to be most of Act 2/3, and the end game is going to be Act 4 onwards. Well, even though the end game, you sort of Act 1 and 2 is pretty much the early and mid, with everything after that being 3 and 4 as late game, because the Act 5 you can do in less than 30 minutes, as I showed. But yes, Pasqal. So, talking about some of the gearing here. For the helmet, I like the self-calibrating helmet. You can get a special one from his quest line, which is really good because your commune spirit adds intelligence for everything committed to it. However, there are no enemies to use that on once you're at that point in the game. So I like this one because basically you put stunned on your single attacks and you can get all sorts of benefits from attacking stunned enemies for both you and your allies. For the trinket on the necklace, I like the Warlord's Amulet. It gives the intelligence bonus dodge to the wearer and the allies, so it's not very useful for himself because you're still only around 50% here, but it's very useful for your allies. For the armor, we go into the Skitarii armor. It's because it just gives you armor based on tech, so it's really good medium. As you see, I've got 92% armor there, so that's pretty nice, and it also minuses 2 from reload, and plasma guns take quite a bit to reload, so it's quite useful. For gearing, I used Litany of Exhaustion. Any hit with the wearer single attacks inflict +1 stack of fatigue, disturbed, and perplexed for 2 rounds. If the target fails an agility test, this also stacks. The reason I like this is because Pasqal is not just a damage dealer, he's also my disruptor in the team. He's one of the core members that I always have him, mostly because of his tech and his logic checks. But having him being able to apply effects with my other companions, especially as a bounty hunter that's going to loop turns, very useful. Bead of Concentration. The wearer gains additional 1 AP for each consecutive turn that the wearer has not spent MP. Stacks up to 5 times. I almost never use this, I'm not gonna lie. You can actually put on the other litany once you have it. I don't think I've actually picked it up just yet, because you get to later on. But yeah, it can generate extra AP if you go into later rounds. I tend not to. One of the other things you could do is you put arm-piercing ammo on here, but there's a lot of stuff that I'm competing for with allies that are using with gearing, so yeah, it's useful for going into later turns because you don't tend to move him. But alternatively, there's also the metronome if you to get +10 to characteristics. But yeah, no, I tend not to move him, so you can use it, but I clear encounters too quickly. Gloves, plasma shaped gloves, 10 tech use, which means more armor, and it also gives +3 damage to plasma weapons. I put on the backpack with arm-piercing ammo. Because his weapons have high arm-piercing, it can put bleed on, which helps again set up allies to do more damage. For the boots, I use tracking boots. Whenever the wearer is hot on the trail's extra turn is triggered, the wearer gains 1 AP and agility MP for this extra turn. These can be very easily missed because you have to shoot down that guy in Act 3 with the ballistics checks on the shoot. Yeah, it can be quite hard to actually get that. Obviously, Ancient Plasma Rifle, best plasma rifle in the game, does intelligence bonus damage. Your area damage comes from your intelligence anyway, very, very good. And the stat stick that I don't ever use is his Omissire Axe. It does stuff, but I don't really need to go into it because I don't use it. Basically, what we do with Pasqal is the game plan for him is to set up and then become a plasma battery. So if we look at the features here, for his active abilities, one of the things you want to do, you want to analyze enemies, which will give them more exploits. Stream Spirit Communion, you want to try and hit as many allies and enemies as possible with this, because it reduces allies' recoil, and it also gives them enemy suffer penalty to dodge whilst they're under that. It also increases enemy recoil, and it also increases ally dodge. So yeah, it's very useful. It also gives him a bunch of additional effects on some of his other talents when he uses this. Yeah, getting that down, really good. Then you want to try and get tactical knowledge on just one enemy, so you'll remove the exploits, and what you'll do is all allies will gain armor based on this, and the operative will gain damage. Once you get into later levels, when you pick up the upgrade for this, yeah, improved tactics, it requires much less and it does much more. Then you got claim the bounty, so the way this works is it does 4 times the ballistic score plus perception bonus damage. Eventually that will be more than 100% of your normal damage. It will actually do more than your normal shots. And yeah, after each third enemy killed claim the bounty, you can apply more charges. Being a bounty hunter, you want to put down praise because you get lots of bonuses when you do it. You can increase your critical damage when you kill high value enemies, and when you kill low value enemies you get temporary wounds. Basically you're going to be using temp HP because you don't have much dodge. You've also got Cold the Bold along with a bunch of other talents that can allow you to ignore enemy armor. And the big feature of this that everyone said was bugged because they didn't understand how it worked was you can remove all exploits from the target, decreasing the target's dodge, parry, and armor by 15 plus exploits removed times your perception bonus divided by 3 until the operative's next turn. For some reason that lasts a very long time. I've seen it sometimes become permanent. I don't know if it's because when you apply a different effect on top of it, it just locks it, or what's going on there. There's a whole bunch under the hood. But again, using this, you get a whole other bunch of benefits that we'll go through as we go through the level ups. But yeah, stripping enemies' armor, adding all sorts of debuff effects, increasing allies' armor, decreasing enemies' dodge, increasing allies' dodge. And then because of his very unique abilities, every shot with your plasma cannon increases your damage, which is overcharged protocols. If I can just find where I take that here. I believe I take it in the earlier levels. Yeah, here we go. So every time Pasqal uses a plasma melter weapon, his damage with these weapons is increased by 5 plus intelligence bonus, and it stacks. If he doesn't shoot, he loses it. But yeah, you're going to be shooting a lot around. As you saw in that earlier clip, that was all from one Finest Hour turn. I literally bring it down, generate Finest Hour, and then the rest is just him going off like an absolute artillery platform, while still also doing buffs and debuffs across the entire battlefield. Pasqal is very good at what he does, and he's probably the best operative that you have in your party. I don't like to really run Eurolet with him about. I always go into Bounty Hunter because Bounty Hunter is just better than Grand Strategist for doing the buff debuffing that he does because of all the extra turns you can take, meaning you do a lot more than just going first. But why don't we actually start looking into this early game, mid game, and then late game and see how we build this guy. Now, normally when I do this, I read out everything and as it does it. But at this point, I feel like people have been playing long enough that they should kind of have an idea of how it works. If you're completely new, you're probably just going to follow the spreadsheet and read and learn as you go along. Basically, the core feature of an operative is Analyze Enemies, which is what you use to apply stacks. At the start of each turn, operative inflicts 1 stack of exploit effect on all enemies in the operative's line of sight. If the operative hits an enemy with an exploit stack, the attack deals 5 times perception bonus more damage. The damage is also increased by 10% for each exploit on the target. The attack removes all exploits from the target. So basically, intelligence and perception are going to be your 2 main features here. Perception will also use for exposed weakness, and intelligence will help put out more stacks as you go along. You'll pick up loads of talents that will start increasing it as well. And because you're kind of squishy and you don't have much dodge, you don't want to be melee. There are ways to do a melee build, which I have shown before, but it's not all that effective. You want to be using his unique plasma talents that the Road Trader and other companions don't have access to. So what we'll start doing is, as we go through his levels here, the main skills that I always put on him are tech use and logic, because he is just the best for that, and you need that to open chests and operate computers. Like I said, the exposed weakness feature, armor strips. It's very important. Talents that we'll start going into is getting passive learning. So on the first turn of combat, we will apply more to enemies that are within sight. I don't know if this works on bonus turns. I don't think it does, and I don't think Uncanny Sight works for bonus turns either. But it's still pretty good. The main ability that we're going to focus up on here as well is ballistic score, because we need to be able to hit it can be quite hard to land shots early game unless you go into precise attack, which is an option to either go into joint analysis or precise attack. Pick up aiming protocols to increase your aim, uncanny sight so you can get exploits on enemies you can't see, more ballistic score. The first talent I always take is tactical knowledge, because it's the one that has the most benefit to the party, which is you turn exploits into armor for the allies, and it applies to everyone. So it's very, very good to have, and you can also stack exploits with more than one operative. We get our tech use up. Comprehensive analysis is your use of analyze enemies. If they have 2 or more exploits, the target suffers more exploits, so it increases them. It's actually a little bit more than this. Like, sometimes some of the in-game descriptions are off. Machine spirit scan protocols, so we get more. You get exploits when you use machine spirit scan. I take, for dismantling attack, this is going to be up to you what you really want to go with. I like that it creates attacks of opportunity when they try to attack if they survive it, because it also lowers your enemy's stats. So it basically, you immediately inflict 1 exploit on all enemies in combat. They make a free attack on that target. That attack always hits. Until the end of combat, the target of this attack suffers 30% penalty to dodge and armor. So it's another way to armor strip, really. Now, on top of this, they're also going to invoke attacks of opportunity, which is pretty nice. We get some more logic going in here. Then we up our intelligence. Tide of Excellence, very, very good ability. It says when the operative triggers an exploit on an enemy, the operative gains +1 damage and 2% armor penetration until the end of combat. Only applies to the first strike of a projectile in a burst attack. But yeah, it's very good to get our damage up. I also get 1 point into Medicaid here, so you can actually use med packs on him. Joint analysis is what I take here, but you can also choose to take precise attack if you want to be an attacker. Joint analysis if you want to be more support. Precise attack if you want to be attacking. So that's a little choice that's going to be up to you. But we definitely take overcharge protocols here. This is so that as we start shooting, we start building up our damage. We've then got 2 options here. Fresh target and insightful precision. Obviously, if you take precise attack, you want to take insightful precision. If you don't, fresh target is fine. Or you can also take improved tactics here. It's really up to you what you want to go with there. We then up intelligence, we then up our perception, we then get grenadier, and lastly we go into dismantling attack 2. So we also lower the enemies to hit by their bliss score and their weapon score. This means that early game we're going to be mostly using the long las. We're going to be holding back, putting on exploits, tactical advantage, and then picking off people and armor stripping high value targets. We want to be hanging back and working pretty much as an early lad sniper until we start moving into things later. So let's move into mid-game here. So mid-game is when we go into Bounty Hunter, which is probably, until I'd come along back in August, have been one of the most slept on classes. And now you have other creators, especially reporters, who's absolutely realised how you play this and how great it is. And they're now singing the praises. So I'm glad everyone else is getting onto my page here. Basically the way it works, you mark 3 prey and then you'll get bonuses based on when you kill them. You can get talents that allow you to get half if an ally kills them, but you can also pick up a very powerful ability called Save the Kill, which gives you an extra turn at half your MP and AP, but you can't attack. But then there's an ability called Hot on the Trail, where you can use up all of your AP and MP for that turn to mark another target. When that dies, you'll get a bonus turn to do it. This is how you get around the operative's lack of additional attacks, because this way you can basically generate another attack action and you can use all your abilities again, so you can spread more buffs and debuffs. And with us, the first talent that we pick up here is Claim the Bounty. This will make us have another free single attack with our selected weapon, so we can build up more stacks here. We can increase our attack economy from 1 to 2. It's very, very useful. And obviously, after each third kill, Claim the Bounty, we get +1 more charger mark down the prey. You start with 3. Having 2 bounty hunters is very good, because they can ping pong between each other and keep generating turns for one another. If they can even mark the same Hot on the Trail target, so when they someone kills them, they both get a turn. So let's start reading through this. Obviously, this, as I talked about before, does 4 times ballistic score bonus plus perception bonus. Once this goes over 100% when you have buffs from, say, pre-science, you will be doing more than your single target shot, so this becomes priority. Yeah, this attack always hits as well. Unless they have an ability to not get hit, it always hits. So even if you've only got 1% chance, use this, bing, bang, boom. With that, get Save of the Kill, which is what allows us to get those additional turns from what I talked about. Wild Hunt just seems to be bugged. I can never seem to get this to work, so I'm not even going to really talk about it. however it's meant to work, it's very inconsistent. Sometimes you'll get the extra attack, sometimes you won't. I don't know what's going on with it. It's a bug I've reported to devs. But anyway, we then get more AP. We improve our intelligence first time round here. And then we get filtering protocols. When you use a plasma and melter weapon for the first time round, he gains 1 AP. Yeah, that means claim the bounty is free. Fire that, get your AP back. Woo! We then get some more ballistic score. Claim and maim. If claim the bounty kills an enemy, the bounty hunter's next attack this turn will always score a critical hit. So you use the guaranteed to hit, which also gives you AP back. Then you use the shot that's guaranteed to crit on, you say, an overcharge shot or whatever have you. Good. Hot on the trail. So this is a lot of text. Let me explain here. So the bounty hunter designates an enemy in a 10-cell radius as trailed and finishes the turn. All allies get a 7% hit chance against the trailed enemy and 15% if the enemy's difficulty tier is more than 5. You can see what their tiers are on their little title card. If an ally kills the trailed enemy, so the ally has to kill them. The bounty hunter gains an extra turn after that ally's turn with all the AP and MP remaining from the moment the bounty hunter used hot on the trail. The bounty hunter also gains an additional 2 plus target difficulty tier MP. The cooldown on Hot on the Trail is also reset. When Hot on the Trail is being used for the 3rd time during the combat, the bounty hunter recovers 1 charge of prey. Yeah, I've never used this 3 times. I've already won the combat by then. We then get Trail and Shatter, so we have no range, and we also reduced enemies' arm by 3 plus perception bonus. Yeah, I don't think that's how that's working at all. I think it's times. But anyway, yeah, 21% armor strip. Woo! Increase attack use, increase ballistics. We then get persistence of the Forge. Forge world characters gain a stacking 10% bonus chance to hit and dodge reduction against any target they hit with a single target attack. Successful critical hits from single target attacks increase the hit chance and dodge reduction by 20%. Yeah, so you claim, basically, yeah, when you claim, you know that attack that can't miss, it just gives you 10% bonus to hit with the attack that can miss. We then take Expert Finesse. Whenever the bounty hunter kills an enemy whose difficulty tier is 4 or higher, the bounty hunter immediately reloads their weapon and attacks the closest enemy in their line of sight. This attack gains 50% over penetration, but only deals, it's 4 times ballistic score bonus plus perception bonus damage. Yeah, again, that can go up. This seems to be bugged sometimes. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't work. I don't know. It's useful when it does, not useful when it doesn't. We then get Tech Use Intelligence. I took Wild Hunt upgrade 3 because the free MP and restoring 3 charges to hunt down the prey is actually quite useful, so you can use it to get more prey. Then get Inspiring Trophy. When the bounty hunter kills a prey whose difficulty tier is 4 or higher, the bounty hunter additionally gains 2 AP, more buff debuff. We then increase our law logic, and we get more perception. Perception reduces enemy dodge, so it's very useful to us. We then get Exposing Communion. Pasqal's attacks and effects of the Exposed Weakness ability gain bonuses against enemies under the effects of Machine Spirit Communion, as if those enemies had 2 or more stacks for exploits. Yeah, good. It means our Exposed Weakness does more if we've used Machine ones. I then take Snared Prey, so we can throw down traps. Hiding Concentration. Whenever the bounty hunter scores critical hit, they gain 7% armor penetration till the end of combat. Every crit, therefore, makes us armor pen more, which means more bleed with other gear. More perception, more logic. Hunt's Ambush. This is bugged. You can't take this in Exemplar level, so you have to take it now. When the bounty hunter performs a single shot attack on an immobilized or stunned target, this attack refunds the cost and does not count for the attack limit once per round. Yeah, that's pretty good. So you stun something, shoot it, shoot again. Pretty good. Then we get our perception increased by 10 here. And I take Wild Hunt upgrade 3, which is whenever the bounty hunter attacks exactly one target which was marked as prey. Wild Hunt, this attack does 300% damage. Yeah, when that does work, that does a load of damage. But yeah, so the middle game here, when you're going to be using your plasma cannons, to get your first upgrades in Act 2, you're going to want to be going to Kiyogama. And yeah, you're going to be wanting to take armor that increases anything for tech and also does buffs and debuffs for your enemies. It's very useful. This is such a core class. I don't like Pasqal is always on the team because of what he does here, and it's very, very, very good. Okay, boys and girls, we're going to go into the Exemplar levels. On this run, I haven't actually finished it, but I've done it multiple times, so I've already decided what skin I'm going to pick for here, so I only play up to level 50. But the first one we get is Eager for Battle. Yeah, 2 extra AP, useful. We then get Improved Tactics here. Ideally, if you took Improved Tactics earlier, this is where you want to take Fresh Target. We then increase tech use, we then get Hunting Surge, so this is whenever enemies killed by a critical hit scored by the bounty hunter, and the difficulty The hunter gains 2+ difficulty of damage, so it increases our damage to kill things with crit. We get tech use, intelligence. We get pinnacle of weaponry. Some people like to take this earlier. I like to take it now, which is basically our first attack with a plasma weapon does our intelligence bonus damage, and for the rest of the combat it's an extra 4. I don't think that's that necessary later on. This is where you can choose to take precise attack if you hadn't already taken joint analysis. If you didn't have joint analysis, this is where you take joint analysis. You then get tech use, degraded defense, huge. Whenever the character deals damage, half of it will be applied again on your next attack. So if you do 300 damage, they get 150 stacks of degraded defense, which means they take 150 more damage on your next attack. Good. Shed spoils is whenever an ally kills the prey, we get half the bonuses that we would have got for killing. We then increase our ballistic score, and then this is where I pick up insightful precision. Again, if you'd already taken the other things, other places, this is where you take the other ones. But yeah, we get bonus perception equal to the number of exploits removed, so it does a lot more of all of the other stuff. We then pick up Cold or Bold, which means we do additional damage, and we also reduce the enemy's armor when we're shooting them. So Cold or Bold, very good. More ballistic score. Flay the Bold, which is Cold or Bold, now removes the target's difficulty tier deflection, willpower and toughness, so we start really crippling things. Plasma Weapon Expert, we get +2 damage here. That's the way that works. We get some logic. Death Dealer. Every round after the character kills the first enemy, the character immediately makes an additional single target attack against the closest enemy that they can target with the same weapon. If possible, this attack deals 30% damage with +10% damage for the difficulty tier of the first enemy killed. Again, sometimes this just doesn't work. Hopefully 1.3 will be fixing some of this stuff. When it does work, useful. We then get AP increase, get joint offensive. The operative's allies gain their int bonus divided by 2 critical hit chance and critical hit chance whilst attacking targets with exploits. Pretty useful for them. We get logic. React study. If an enemy affected by an exploit within 5 cells of the operative attacks the operative or their allies, they gain 1 more exploit. Good. We then get some Medicaid. Pierce the armor. Whenever the bounty hunter scores a critical hit, the target's armor is reduced by 8+ their difficulty tier, so our ballistic bonus. Yep, we really strip armor here. Intelligence, perception, Medicaid. Pinpoint accuracy. We ignore ballistic bonus divided by 2 points for enemy deflection. It's pretty good. Then get weak body, weak soul. This is huge for crippling bosses, especially for the end of the game. If you want to take this earlier, then feel free to. But basically, 3 times int bonus, seems to be more than that. But we reduce their toughness and willpower when we use exposed weakness. So yeah, no, that's pretty good. Afterwards, I go into guidance because it gives us some allied buffs when we're doing. First critical hit in the round grants the allies a stack and bonus to armor penetration, so that's very good. We then get more Medicaid. Ballistic calculations. This is something that you could really take earlier, but I choose to take later. The operatives attacks a target affected by an exploit from a distance of 8 cells or further. We do 15% more damage. It requires you to be really far away. That's why I don't take it early until we've got more stats. I then pick up Perfect Shot, which is whilst in cover, the operative gets 25% cover efficiency, 15 perception, and 15 ballistic skill. It's a really strong boost, but it's not that necessary earlier. We then finish leveling up our perception. I like to grab Know-It-All here. The reason is we get more armor penetration to the point where we just completely ignore it. And lastly, this one is probably the most we then get sniper expertise, which is to go with the other one, which is Perfect Shot. We get even more arm penetration, really good. I don't pick up Sharpshooter. It requires you just to be too far. If the operative has not moved this turn, they deal 4% more damage to single shot attacks for every 5 cells between them and the target, and gain 7 ballistic skill. Plasma cannons they don't really have that distance. Like, it can be useful, but I don't think it's as useful as one on the sniper. But yeah, that's Pasqal. No, he shreds. I'll throw in a little bit more footage of him fighting Defiler, but I think, or a Hellbrute. But yeah, no, he's really good. He starts useful, stays useful, never stops being useful. This guy's always on the team. But thanks for stopping by. Hope that helps. Yes, I know this is going to be less edited than most of my videos, but people complained that they were too distracting having me go through everything and every little detail shown an entire playthrough in the background. But if you've got any more questions, do feel free to pop in the live stream and let me know if you prefer a slightly speeded up format like this, or if you prefer my much longer breakdowns with much more footage to it. But till then, Rev out, all the best, thanks for your view.